The following episode of the Justin Robert Young podcast is brought to you by absolutely nobody. And that is the mantra of this very podcast. Welcome, 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 friends, to yet another edition of the JuRY podcast. It is where I, Justin Robert Young, your friend, your confidant, your summer crush, describes to you what is going on in my head and helps you make sense of what is in yours. We have a hell of a show here today. My younger brother, Erik Taylor Young, is right here in studio with me. We will talk about so many things, including what I have decided is the rodeo of our generation. It is an epic game that you too can play in your own home. I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm also going to get into use of the phrase fingering. We're gonna figure it out, man. Like, we got a lot to talk about because I got a lot of questions about the phrase fingering. Just gonna let you know, it's something that I have been thinking a lot about. But here's something else I've been thinking a lot about. Got this email. Man by the name is Phil. Man by the name is Phil? That's not how it goes. A man by the name of Phil. Phil writes, and we've gone back and forth about his podcast. He has been doing a Kickstarter podcast, and now he's kind of reshaping the way he's thinking about things. And with the one podcast that he's doing, doesn't quite know if it's exactly where his passion's at, wants to try something else. But it's made me think of a very oft ignored element of all of our lives, and that is when to know you've failed. What? Failed? Nobody wants to fail. Failing is the opposite of what you want to do. We are told this from a very young age. You pass or you fail. You never want to fail. You never want to think that you are a disappointment to not only yourself, but also anybody around you or anybody who's shown faith in you. And yet that thought is paralyzing. It stops us from doing a lot of what we would otherwise really want to do. Why? Because for some reason, the idea of never say die is more important than let's get it right. Let's live a healthy life. Let's be happy. Let's do the best we possibly can do. And that might not be what you're doing now. In fact, what you're doing now might be the enemy of the project that you are just about to start, if only you would know when to cut the cord. And we are filled culturally with lessons on the other side of this. Oh, we got so far and then we quit. Oh, we worked so hard and it could have happened, but we quit. Quitting, it's a negative word. Failing, negative word. And yet, they could be the most healthy things you could do. So he has to realize that at some point, He's banging his head against the wall with a podcast that he may or may not feel super passionate about. And passion is something that he finds to be absolutely necessary for what he does. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to wake up every single day and do it. So I want everybody to do me a favor as we do the rest of this show and as you listen to this during the week. Give me something that you want to just declare I failed on. Could be in the past, could be currently. It'd be weird if it were in the future. I'm just going to, it'd be weird if you were like, yes, I am going to fail at something. But just write me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com, put JuRY in the headline. Or if you are watching here live, as we have had, just an amazing steady stream of regulars here. We record 7 p.m. Sunday nights here at diamondclub.tv. Please, #join the conversation. We're going to see what we can get. It's just made me think of that. And it's made me be introspective on the things that I have looked at and said, you want to know what? And maybe failing, I'm defaulting to the term failing just because I think it's the most harsh that you can do, And if we can deal with the harshest version of this, then you can deal with every version of it. So maybe it's not failing, right? But I feel like it's cathartic to call it that because you're kind of safe, right? You can be safe in your own failure. If you can feel good about failure, you can feel good about anything. So let me hear from you. Or maybe this is all gibberish. Maybe I'm not making any goddamn sense. Anyhow, we're going to come back. We have some very important conversations I need to have with my brother. Stay with us.
Get out before I throw you out.
Erik Taylor Young joins us. Erik, you are in town. We went to go see Outkast.
Yes, we did. That was exceptional.
Last night. That was pretty rad.
Fun time.
For whatever reason, my mic stand is like right in your face. So just do
and
me a favor
resituate.
and resituate either one way or another so you can still talk into that mic. That also rolls around there.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, that bass. So you can roll that a little bit. Roll them bones on over here. So
how we looking, feeling about that?
better.
All right.
It looks and feels so much better. We went to go see Outkast, went to the Treasure Island Music Festival. That was super fun, and we're not going to talk about that. Actually, no. Let's give 2 minutes on Outkast. What was your opinion on the whole Treasure Island Music Festival experience?
The entire experience was pretty well done, I thought. And Outkast, I mean, apparently they have, and you were telling me this, that they Andre 3000 specifically doesn't really have a proclivity, let's say, for performing live.
Yeah.
So last night I felt like he was definitely taking one for the team, and he actually seemed like he was not begrudgingly performing. It was like he was into it. So when the performer on stage is having a good time, then the audience is gonna have a good time. So I myself had a dope time. Their song selection was everything I could have asked for and more. Everything from Southern Playalistic all the way to Hey Ya. And you know, you always kind of got to question if they're gonna pull out their most commercially successful stuff. Yeah. So
by the way, that mic's very sensitive, so you don't have to eat it.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Back here?
Yeah.
All right, cool. But anyway, yeah. So that's my experience in a nutshell. How about you?
It's great. It's amazing. It was really, really good. I mean, obviously, Outkast is something that we both very much have enjoyed in our lives. It's really, really awesome, and I thought that they were amazing. And Andre seemed to be having a good time because he doesn't always have a good time, which is fun. It was fun to see him having fun.
Yeah,
because he is obviously very, very charismatic. He is an amazing performer. He's a great artist, and yet there's sort of this element of you're dragging him out of his safe space to dance for you, that you kind of almost feel guilty that you're there making him be this person that he was so many years ago.
He kind of seems like he's the kind of performer that could just like blow up a show like right in the middle of it too. You know what I mean?
Oh, and just sandbag it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Because
absolutely.
he's
You're
such
kind of always expecting that.
He's such an eclectic personality.
So
and
here,
just a creative genius.
Somebody has reminded me of something that this whole segment I was going to talk about the phrase fingering and whether or not it's like I don't know whether or not a lot of people use it. Like I know guys use it. I don't know. Well, here was my discrepancy. I don't know. Guys amongst themselves will call jerking off.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like girls amongst themselves to describe men masturbating would call it jerking off.
Correct.
And I think guys would talk about female masturbation as fingering. And I don't know whether women talk about it amongst themselves as fingering.
Well,
or if there's another term.
Are you asking my opinion?
Yes. That's why you're on the show.
My thoughts or sentiments on this is that is fingering even the predominant form of female masturbation? Because I feel like they're more apt to
it's a rub-a-dub-dub.
Yeah.
Or a dildo situation.
Now you're thinking. This is more along the line of, 2014 female masturbation, I think. You're really roughing it if you're just like that's like if,
sure,
you know what I mean. I feel like that is from my understanding what I think the form that female masturbation takes mostly. So fingering is a minority.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's a good list. I hadn't prepared for that theory, but I guess that would in turn make it a very, of course, guys would say that. Because that's a guy-centric perspective,
right? Because
that is what we do. We finger, right?
Right.
In general, that is a thing that happens, but that is a very much putting ourselves, as we as men often do, in the center of things.
Right.
Making that, well, of course, that's the only way you masturbate, because that is how I would interpret what like your genital stimulation to be.
Right.
So we are done with that segment. And I'm glad that we only went that far, because somebody reminded me that, we got a lot of mileage out of your Unity Sand ceremony on the podcast, on Night Attack.
What is sifting the Unity Sand?
I trashed the Unity Sand.
I watched that episode.
I destroyed it.
I'm aware. I listened.
And so I'm glad that somebody brought it up.
Okay.
So explain, for people who have not listened to the Night Attack podcast,
all right,
explain what Unity Sand is.
Unity Sand, it's basically something that you do in your wedding. A lot of times in a wedding ceremony nowadays, there needs to be some sort of a symbol of like two people becoming one. Does there need to be?
You're at a wedding, right? Hey, here's a symbol. Two people are getting married.
Let me tell you
That's
something.
crazy.
Let me tell you something.
Got you.
You and I were cut from the same cloth.
Uh-huh.
All right? We're brothers for a reason.
Sure.
We have similar opinions about things.
I swear to God, don't backdoor her.
You want to know?
You co-signed on it. You own it.
I do. Yeah, no. Well, what I did was...
Don't backdoor your wife.
What I did was I arrived at a compromise.
Okay.
So basically...
Well, here, I think what is safe, bring me into your mindset when Unity Sand is proposed.
Should I talk about that, or should I go back to explaining what Unity Sand is? Or is everyone pretty clear about
No. Explain. Okay. Like, so just in one sentence, what is the act of Unity Sand?
It's a symbolic blending of two people becoming one. It's normally done with candles. Two people light two separate candles. They light one candle together.
Boom.
Some places don't want fire, any sort of open flame to be there. So Unity Sand has kind of become this clever little...
So Unity Sand only exists because open flames are not a thing.
sometimes frowned upon.
And you would rather do the candle, but you can't. So you have to do unity sand.
There's a couple of schools of thought, and of course I didn't know this because all of my experiences in wedding culture, took place as soon as my wife and I were planning this wedding. So, a couple of things with the candle, of course, when it's in person, I think it's more dramatic, and it's just a little bit more traditional.
Yeah.
With the open flame, but then you don't have anything really to show for it other than just a burnt down stick of wax at the end. So that's not really too cool looking.
And what are you going to do? Just like, hey, honey,
now
we're married. Let's light this old candle.
Or even when we don't light it again, it's like this like shitty looking, like half charred, half burnt, and like that's supposed to symbolize our love. So I also think in addition to overcoming the obstacle of some places not allowing the open flame, they, the unity sand industry was born.
So you'd rather symbolize your love with 90s sand art from Fort Lauderdale Beach.
Something that resembles that, to be perfectly accurate.
It's turquoise and yellow.
It is.
So, all right, let's bring it back.
All right, so
you are going through. So initially, you want to do the candle, right?
No, initially what I wanted was a 10-minute wedding ceremony. I've been there. You've been there.
Yeah.
We have these same sentiments over what happens when a wedding passes the 10-minute threshold.
Yeah.
You're like...
Losing interest.
Not only do I have to sit here, but I'm in a place where it's completely socially unacceptable for me to even look at my smartphone.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's like, so what are you supposed
Not
to
a
do?
cool thing to do.
Attention spans are not built for past the 10-minute threshold in 2014.
And it's a lot of look at me, right?
It is, of course.
It's a lot of like, hey, look at us. We're special.
Exactly. And so that was the exact core of the...
So you're saying cut it all the fuck out.
Well, what I'm
like
saying
cut
is,
out all the hoopla, all the hoopty doodle, the ballyhoo.
And what my wife was looking for
Yeah.
was hooply hoo filler. She was like, well, but let's think of like another little hooply hoo thing that we can do so that the wedding reaches an appropriate amount of time, in her opinion. Now,
So for her, there was a time limit for which it would be too short.
correct, because the way that she saw it was she was looking at dollar signs, definitely, of like, this venue costed this amount of money, and God damn it, I need a ceremony that makes me feel like I'm getting my money's worth for this room. And this part of the wedding. And then also women have a different mindset than men do.
Yeah.
I was trying to, my mindset is all about guest satisfaction. I wanted all of our guests to have the best time possible. And I knew that dragging out the ceremony is the number one way that guests are right off the bat going to be like, not feeling this, not feeling it.
Ugh.
So I was lobbying for like a 10-minute ceremony. She was lobbying for something around 30. I think that we landed at a compromising like
She wanted a
18,
30-minute
20-minute wedding.
Like, so how many other fucking crazy things?
I had to talk her out of like incorporating like prayers and stuff like into because she was
Which
like,
nothing against the good Lord God, right?
No.
Hands to God.
hands to God right now. The God. It was not about
Ain't nothing but a G thing.
ain't nothing but a G and an O and a D thing.
Young Jeezy. Jesus.
See the original Jeezy?
Jeezy. I got this new character. I got this new character that I'm doing on Night Attack now.
Is it a young old O Jeezy?
No,
original.
It's
Jeezy?
James
The original
Thurgood.
Jeezy. Okay, tell me about
Here
it.
we go. Hold on. Let me get my hat on backwards. Roll up the sleeves.
This is not really the direction I saw Thurgood going in, by the way.
No. Hey, what's up, brother? My name is James Thurgood. I'm a youth minister.
Yes.
Just want to let you know that you might be going through a lot of troubles out here on these streets. But there's one dog who's always got your back. OG. Original God.
The original God. All right.
And his boy, Diamond. Jesus Christ. Let me throw a few V's at you real quick, dog. John 04 5:6. And lo, Jesus said, sup.
Direct quote, dog. Direct quote.
It's right there, man. It's all there. It's all there. Fucking capital B for Bible. That's what you need to get in your life. Tossing V's just left and right. So anyway, that's James Thurgood.
James Thurgood, everybody.
Youth minister. There's prayers. In the initial draft, the 30-minute draft of this wedding, prayers. How many prayers?
As many as we needed.
Really? So you were just like, it was like let's fill it up. Come on.
Yeah. So she was interested in a half an hour ceremony, even trying as hard as she could to contrive things to fill up that 30 minutes. She was not getting close. And I, provided the low end, ideal wedding length. And then we arrived somewhere like squaw in the middle. But that meant that, she wanted things in the wedding, and then she wanted a keepsake. And so I guess, just to
the unity sand was what survived.
It's the keepsake from the wedding ceremony. It's the thing that you take with you, and it's got...
Chimera in the chat room says, even half-hour sitcoms are 22 minutes. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. All right, one more thing, and we can...
I share those sentiments. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I want you to think about it while we play through the break.
Yeah.
If you had to do prayers, right? And at this point, you're committed to that 30 minutes, and she's getting prayers put in there. Do you get a quote from a movie or TV show? Think about it for a second. We're going to come right back. Do you have a TV show or movie that you would because like at this point you're like, all right, listen, I understand we got to fill up 30 minutes, right? And this Bible thing's apparently important to you. But you all know what's important to me? The Simpsons. So here are a couple quotes I would just like worked in, and if we can get a monitor, maybe we can just play them, or maybe we can just watch The Simpsons. What do you say we do a 10-minute ceremony
where we all just kind of break for The Simpsons,
and then when at the end we're like, oh, by the way, here's a Simpsons episode, let's just all sit around and watch it.
I mean, you got to fill the time, right?
If apparently filling the time is the only thing we're focusing on, then let's just go ahead and get a quick episode of South Park in there, in a lovely location, by the way.
Yeah.
Picturesque on the lake. So do you have anything?
The only thing that came to mind would be Ezekiel 25:17, the path of the righteous man. No, only because I feel like I could very easily have that fly under the radar the entire time, but it would be like the Quentin Tarantino.
So you version. Okay. So you have him, but you guys had an actual religious dude there.
Yeah.
That's gonna be hard to sneak by.
Well, I guess that would be the thrill of the entire thing, is that I'm going to propose this Quentin Tarantino version of a Bible quote from a famous movie. My wife, who attended Christian school her entire life, and this ordained minister and officiant, if they either both of them do not identify that this is a hoax, then maybe it deserves to be in the wedding. Because there's two safeguards keeping that from actually being in the wedding. And if they busted you, just look them right in the eye and say, I'm trying, done. Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. All right, it's the modern rodeo of our times, folks. I want you to play along this week and let me know if your experiences are like mine. You are going to watch Erik as he is the barometer
of this. It happened to me earlier this week. I was in Washington, D.C. I was hanging out with some old friends, two of which were very internet-connected people.
Okay.
One of which was not. I would consider you somebody more not internet-connected than internet-connected, especially with social media and stuff like that.
Okay.
You have a presence, but it's not something that you would check multiple times a day. Safe to say?
Fair.
Here's the challenge I'm going to give to all of you guys. You go out this week and explain using only facts, not opinions, not analysis, only facts, what Gamergate is. And so now it begins. And here's what you need to avoid is the person who you're telling having their face glaze over like a Krispy Kreme donut from boredom. All right? So here we go. Eric, I think it's probably safe to start off that there's a woman on YouTube who does video essays about women's roles in video games as art. So how women are portrayed negatively in these tropes. Safe to say that it's controversial. Many people disagree with her.
Okay.
Secondarily, there's another woman who developed video games, broke up with her boyfriend. The boyfriend wrote a very lengthy blog post about how she's a whore and she fucked video game journalists to get positive reviews for her video game. For audio listeners, we're at half glaze right now. At that point, people became obsessed with the incestuous nature of video game journalism, that if this man's blog post was true, it demonstrated a larger problem of female video game developers fucking male reviewers and getting positive reviews. And so they have now launched Gamergate, which to them is we're at 75% glaze. Right now is a campaign for better ethics in video game journalism.
Okay.
The way they've done it is by lobbing violent threats at the developer lady whose boyfriend went out online and aired their dirty laundry, and by sending violent threats to other female video game journalists, and by sending violent threats to the other lady who does the video essays that I mentioned before.
The first one.
I think that's the facts of, I mean, again, I don't mean facts as in they are indisputable. I mean that I'm trying to just stick to actions that happened as opposed to my opinions about those actions.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much it. And it got to about, for audio listeners, Eric got to about 80%, 89% glaze, and it only ended with befuddlement. I only avoided 100% glaze by a wave of befuddlement that happened at the end.
And I was also trying to remain as engaged as possible. So
you were actively trying to do it. If you were not trying, you probably would have checked out mentally about halfway through.
Oh, good God, yeah.
Yeah.
Easily. Well...
Do you have any questions?
Want my candid reaction now?
Yes. Yeah, please. Yeah.
I mean,
reaction and questions.
Number one, how many fucking female video game programmers are there?
Few.
So this is an attack on like 4 women.
Yes.
Secondly, why?
Violent, an aggressive attack. In fact, the lady who did the video game essays was scheduled to do a talk at Utah State University this week. This made news. Somebody emailed in a school shooting threat, said that he had guns and bombs if they did not cancel this talk, and they wound up having to cancel the talk because she was uncomfortable with Utah's state carry laws.
Oh, goodness.
Basically, the state police, with the capacity that they had, would not have been able to ensure that there were no guns in the room that she was going to be in. They didn't have enough people to do it, apparently.
Okay.
So they wound up canceling the talk.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
news this week.
Yeah.
Just to give you a sense of where we are in the scope of this hashtag Gamergate story.
Gamergate, yeah. So it's forcing people like her to basically go into hiding, have to kind of like disappear for a little while, sort of situation, because the attacks on them are so violent.
I think she has had to move out of the house she was in because the address was kind of burned on the internet. And I think somebody else has had to move out of their house or says that they have had to move out of their house because of the threats.
All
Do you
right.
have any other questions?
Yeah, is it the point where I can ask your opinion about
Yes,
something?
go ahead.
Okay. Do you think that this violent sort of backlash from the gamer community is because they're disturbed about the integrity of their video game ratings, or is there something else that they're pissed about and that they're just using this as like an opportunity to vent?
I think yes.
The latter?
No, the latter. I think that they are using this to vent. And I think that the thing they're upset about is ladies.
Just women, right?
I think that there's just some
The
misogyny out here on these streets. There's just people who don't like women.
That's
I mean,
what it sounds like, especially in kind of like a boys only sort of world like that,
Yeah.
right? You know?
But speaking of boys only, there's one element of this story that I feel I'm going to make my fighting ground. And I want your opinion on it right after we're done. So there's a part of this story that I feel in general that in life we are best specialized. Nobody's got to do everything, right? You are best to find the little thing that you do well and become the best at it. And if that is the case, then this is how I will do my best to critique Gamergate. Because I feel like it's weird for me to get out there and be like, I'm fighting for ladies. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to say what I want.
Right.
But I think it is legitimate. There are people out there who kind of make fun of, I mean, women and feminists who make fun of, like, the male ally. Like, the guy is like, hey, don't worry, ladies. I see your side. Mm-hmm. Like, and I just don't want to be that, right?
Understood.
So I'm going to let's keep it boys only. And let's talk about this element for which we will fucking unload all firepower.
Okay.
And that's this motherfucker. Eron Goyji. Gjoni. This is the 24-year-old who broke up with this lady Zoe Quinn and put all this shit out here on the internet.
Right.
I am here to tell you that if there is a listener to this show who thinks it's fucking appropriate to unload a bunch of fucking nasty ass shit about a failed relationship on the internet, you think that's cool, we are not seeing eye to eye. It is something that I am fundamentally against. I think it is deplorable. In fact, we were having this conversation last night that in general, it is a sign of good character for somebody to have good, at the very least, diplomatic relationships with your exes.
Right.
People that you are romantically involved with. Because again, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with labeling things that you are abandoning as failures. Because if you can be okay with the idea that you might have failed at something. You're going to be better off in life. And if you can leave a romantic relationship that are oftentimes messy, full of emotions, in a diplomatic perspective, then you are going to be better off, and it will signal to everybody else around you in your life from that step forward that you are a mature human being. And I would also say more of a man.
Of course.
Let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's go to masculinity constructs. Here's a positive masculinity construct to me. That is that John Wayne would not be all up on his motherfucking Tumblr writing a 9,000 word narrative about his fucking ex-girlfriend.
That's a chick move. That's anti-John Wayne. You know?
I mean, like, and
it's an effeminate move.
Sure.
So yeah, so I agree that
and I wouldn't even necessarily say that doing it is effeminate, right? I think that you could certainly say, right? But I would not say that it is automatically that. I will say that it is deplorable at any level. And it's way deplorable, like he did this week in a BuzzFeed article, to say that he really didn't, or he would do it again. This is the headline. The man who sparked Gamergate regrets the harassment and says he'd do it again. He regrets the consequences that his bitch-ass move caused and is continuing to cause, and yet says he'd do it again. Now, he's young, right? 24 years old. How old are you? 28?
28.
See, I mean, you're in the neighborhood.
I mean,
the end of the block. Before 25 is kind of a different story.
Oh no, it's 100%. In fact, I would say that span of 4 years is, there's maybe some of the greatest change in, maturity that happens over those years, because at 24 you might have just recently gotten out of college and might still be of that mentality, but when you're pushing 30, then obviously things become drastically different than college years. But I agree with your stance. I think that's a to put it simply, it's a bitch move. It's a bitch move. And the basic bitch is a whole nother topic.
The basic bitch. God. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
I actually I read something interesting.
It is fairly basic bitch though.
I don't know. I mean, what the fuck is the basic bitch? I had somebody explain that to me, and then within the first 30 seconds, they were saying something about pumpkin spice lattes.
All right, we can do it.
That's going to be another
We can do another thing. Another thing on the basic
Tabling.
Bitch. Yes. All I'll say is here's your thumbnail of the basic bitch. The basic bitch exists as a stereotype, right? Of all the stereotypes about a very, if you were minting women on an assembly line from your perspective, right? You are just a guy. You're like, all right, let me just do. They do a bunch of things that women do, right? And you just have to make the aggregate, the average woman. That's what a basic bitch is. It is just hey, me and my girlfriends are going to Vegas, or here's a picture of my latte that I took. It's fall, hooray, scarves, that stuff. That exists in contrary to a bad bitch, an independent woman who is fiercely cutting her own trail in life, and a boss bitch for which is also in control of her own existence.
Oh, so we're just talking about the family of bitches.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Well, there are archetypes.
Because what all right, yeah, I understand what
and
you're saying.
And I would say spilling your own guts on the internet is kind of a basic bitch move, right? It's something that you would imagine the weakness of an average person to do.
Yeah, well, just lashing out at your ex in any way. And if your medium is the internet, then yeah. But I would say that I mean, again, I don't really, I don't personally agree with the basic bitch archetype. So I would say I would just drop.
It's a real basic bitch move to not agree with the basic bitch archetype.
Then you know what? It is what it is at this point right now, because I'm not sure that I am still thoroughly understanding. Just because anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. But no, I just think that it's a straight up bitch move.
It is.
It's a bitch move to just be pissed at your ex, because I think that is just lacking the foresight and the wherewithal of your own life to see the benefits for why an unsuccessful relationship needs to end. Like, maybe have the maturity and that sort of like perspective on your own fucking life, and then you won't feel the need to unload on your ex wherever, whether it's on the internet or in your group of friends or, you know, like just wherever.
Absolutely. And to quote Outkast, who we saw last night, he's a bitch's bitch. Bitch.
He's been dead for 5 months. He's been dead for 5 months. But you were surprised to see me alive, weren't you?
Now here, we're going to bring this back full circle before we get to emails. So we've talked about a few things. We talked about failures. We talked about fucking this Gamergate thing and how this dude has dishonored not only him, but all men and all human beings by being any way a poster child by some extraordinarily reprehensible behavior. And let me tie it all together by bringing my own failure to the forefront so I can claim it loudly. And somebody pointed it out to me right here in the chat room. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say this was shameful behavior by me, because the longer it's gone, the less or the more shame I felt about it. And I'm here to say that I failed. I failed you guys. I failed myself. So long story short, and I can get into it later because I don't need to recap all of it. We had a falling out with our old network.
Right.
We've long been off the network. We found out that we were rejected from a guest list of a new show that was coming to their network. And the host of that show was told that they didn't want us back on.
All right.
We stewed about that for a couple weeks and then got drunk and on the live stream talked about the situation.
Okay.
They were none too pleased with us talking about it publicly. They got very angry. They then officially banned us, although they denied banning us in the first place. And then, like, whatever. There's stuff after that, but that's not what I'm ashamed about. Here's what I'm ashamed about. During that initial drunken conversation, right? Call it whatever you want. Tirade, rumination, sobby butthurt boys doing sobby butthurt boys things.
That's a show title.
Yeah. Sounds like the band from Bro Brother Where Art Thou.
The Soggy Bottom Boys.
Yeah. Through constant butthurt all of their days, I am drunk on cider. I've been live streaming all my problems.
He's been live streaming all his problems.
And during that, I said, somebody asked whether or not there are two principals on the other side of this fence for Twit. That is the CEO, Lisa, and the founder and main personality of the network, Leo Laporte.
Okay.
And somebody asked us when we said that we were banned, was it John or Yoko? And I said it was more Yoko than John.
Okay.
What I meant at the time, and I offer this only as an explanation, not as an apology.
Yeah.
Or not as an excuse rather, is I meant to codedly say that it was Lisa that left us off that list and Leo did not. In fact, I am pretty sure to this day that Leo had no idea where any of this came from. That it was a Lisa decision.
Okay.
Right?
That was your impression.
That's my impression of it,
gotcha.
from what I knew.
Gotcha.
However, Yoko's a loaded term.
It is. It has certain implications.
And it's troubling. The implications are that the evil woman ruins the great man's work. Right?
Yeah.
That it's like
or disbands a great group
exactly
of men.
that
very
we were
specifically.
that these great men had gotten together,
Uh-huh.
and it was this one woman who destroyed it. You
Right.
know, that has this
Jackhammered
Jezebel sort of thing to it, and it plays into every negative female stereotype, right?
Okay.
Like, and it dismisses things on such a violent level that I've regretted it ever since I said it. And now, like, there's these lines in the sand, and our fans are pissed off that they're repping for us, you know?
course. Yeah.
Like, and it's not something that we're proud about, you know, like, because we want we want the best for them, whatever. Like, it happened. Like,
It's like a breakup. Yeah. You're
Let's-
having a mature mindset
exactly.
about it.
I would like to at least be cool with my own actions
Yeah.
on it, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that has sat poorly with me, is when I see people just dismissing her as Yoko, like in our chat room or something like that, or just referring to her as Yoko. I feel terrible for having unleashed that.
Hashtag YokoGate.
Hashtag Yoko. I don't want.
I
So,
know.
unlike Iran, I want to say that I regret saying Yoko, and I issue an open apology to Lisa, the CEO of Twit, for referring to that. I sent her an email after everything happened, and I haven't heard anything back. But I didn't apologize specifically for that. But this is something that's just been a thing for me, you know? And it's not to say that I regret everything that went on with that, you know? Like, because I think that there's a point in which you just got to speak your own mind, you know?
No, agreed.
And there are elements that I don't think I would have said sober, right? That I said, and I was very casual about it, but that was across the line. It's just something that I feel the farther I get away from it, that, and I'm not fucking banging my fucking spear and shield like the 300 fucking Spartans.
Yeah.
That I don't feel great about it.
Well, can I point out one glaring difference between, you know, this situation, the Aaron Gamergate situation, and yours, is that, you know, he lashed out with malice and intent. And it seems like the thing that you regret the most by referring to this particular lady as Yoko was really a misconception. You didn't necessarily want it to have all of those. But I understand that it doesn't matter in this situation, but I'm also saying that is a specific difference between Gamergate and this.
Oh, certainly so. Yeah,
right.
I'm not saying they're the same.
Right.
I'm just saying that there is a code. Everybody's got to live by a code, and my code is leave it as clean as possible.
Hell yeah.
As clean as possible. And so there was somebody, Strengths in the
Good
chat
code.
room, pointed it out. When I was talking about, you know, making sure that it was cool, he says, hey, JuRY, it wasn't John, it was Yoko. And I deserve that. I can't be out here fucking hypocriting it up, saying, hey, leave shit clean, when there's obviously a car wreck right behind me. I tried. I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. We have emails coming up right after these words by Neshcom.
You ready?
Listen, man, people are out here saying, it's fine, get over it, and you can have your opinions, man. Your opinions are your own. I just gotta live by my code. That's all I would ask of anybody else. That's all I ask of myself. Let's go ahead and get into emails. You can email me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Use JuRY in the subject line. This one comes in from Brussels. We were talking last week about open bathrooms. You ever been in those bathrooms where there's a shitter and a urinal?
Wait, what?
And no stall or anything.
Oh, yeah.
Just a shitter and a urinal.
Well, in my opinion, that's a one-seater. You
Exactly.
lock the door after that, and that is your domain.
So I just was asking about whether or not anyone's been in a situation in which you were fucking double barreling it. Brussels writes, I wanted to share the strangest open bathroom I've ever seen. It was in a gay bar, not thinking it was an open bathroom at first. When I opened the door, there's a urinal right in front of me on a wall. I walk around the wall where the sink is on the left. There was no mirror, and the toilet is on the right. So you saw the toilet only when you went to the sink. The wall helped, but I think I was thrown off when I was one of 3 guys in the bathroom with everyone either peeing or washing their hands. I'm not sure if we talked at all, but if I did, it was probably commenting on what I thought was a weird situation. He then drew me a diagram of how the bathroom was, which I thought was very, very helpful. Thank you.
Cool.
Jesse writes, a few years ago when I was 16, I was at a gas station with a person with a person I've been friends with my whole life. We both needed to use the restroom, and all they had was a 1-person room filled with a toilet and a urinal. So we decided to both use it and just face different ways. Soon after we went in, some random guy around 40 walked in and just waited for one of us to be done. We had no idea what to do, but I wasn't done peeing yet, so I just stayed in there while my friend left, leaving me stuck in a 1-person bathroom with a random guy. While I was washing my hands, the random guy finally realized it was a 1-person bathroom and started to apologize for walking in. I felt so awkward, I didn't respond and left the room. That is an awkward experience. Another thing we've been talking about on this show is whether or not it's cool to lose your virginity to a hooker. Chris writes about that guy who wanted to have sex with a hooker to lose his virginity. Bad idea. I was kind of in the same boat. Lose it for the sake of the confidence boost. I lost it to a girl I hadn't talked to in 7 years. All hail Facebook, haha. Anyway, I was 21 and I could easily get girls, but I always saved it for that special person. Then I got depressed after a couple relationships and was like, F it, I'm now 23 and I'm dating a 20-year-old and just took her virginity. It kind of sucks because if I had waited, we could have had it together. Hard to explain, I guess. It's a minor regret, but a regret nonetheless. Also, it's kind of like you can't compare sex from one person to another. Now when something isn't right, something. Listen, man, I understand people put too much pressure on this virginity thing fucking all around. So, I don't know. I mean, like, what is true for you is true for you. And I understand why you regret it, but, I don't know. I don't quite get, I mean, in the cold clinical light of having lost my virginity many years ago, I have a hard time understanding
relating back to that.
Its importance to me now.
Uh-huh.
I look back at a lot of things and I'm like, oh, wow, that was the first time I did that. The first time I podcast, the first time that I met a friend, the first time that I kissed a girl, right? Like, but yet virginity seems to rank below all those things,
Okay.
And maybe it's not the same for everybody, but we'll see. Mitsula responds to what I was talking about last week about doing news stories for my Go Home Santa, You're Drunk Christmas short story compilation. We're doing a second edition.
Oh, awesome.
He writes, I asked what sequels they would want to hear. He writes, I'd love to hear a second story about what a pimp gets for Christmas. Have Santa bring justice to another person that is due their comeuppance. Ev Lloyd, father of Blurch, the first of his name, writes about the James Thurgood character. My previous marriage was to a Baptist Christian woman. Her father insisted we go to pre-marriage counseling, which we agreed. It turned out to be a minister who was not only to be our celebrant, he was also the church's youth pastor. You have no idea how close to James Thurgood this guy was. During counseling, he talked a lot about the sanctity of marriage as well as the importance of communication. To cut a long story short, he was a real top bloke until he was caught cheating on his wife. Cheers, JuRY. Feel free to use this if you desire. And I did. Zero writes, greetings, JuRY. What a fucking whirlwind. Okay, listen. I put this in here because it is batshit insane, and we just don't have time because these have already been really, really long. But remind me to read the batshit insane email from Zero next time. You can, of course, find this podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, and some other shit. You can email me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Make sure you put JuRY in the subject line. Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat are justinryoung.com. And, of course, you can always hashtag join the conversation at diamondclub.reddit.com. Listen, I am going to be taking, I want to start taking subjects for the show from Diamond Club. I've seen some really, really good ones. But everybody, go ahead on over to diamondclub.reddit.com. If you like this podcast, you're going to like the people at diamondclub.reddit.com. Erik, is there anywhere that you would like people to find you?
Go ahead. I mean, since everybody is following Justin on Twitter, I'm sure you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at PadreBacon68. That will be probably the best and easiest way to just check me out.
Check it out. And that about wraps it up, man. I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
I feel more enriched personally.
You learned about Gamergate?
I did, yes. Culturally.
You joined our criticism of Unity Sand?
I feel like I even taught you a thing or two about female masturbation.
We learned a lot about female masturbation.
So
we issued a bro code rebuke
about Gamergate.
I feel like I grew a little as a person.
That dude's on notice.
For real. Man card. But ladies and gentlemen, should you find yourself in a low point between now and next Sunday, if you think there is nothing left for me, life is but an open bathroom whilst a stranger shits, I ask you, even at your lowest moment, to please jill it out and please don't die!